So people want to hear my story. Let's start around 2009. My dad dies October 5th, 2 days after I was born. My mom's in a pretty bad place, and I'm living with my fiance and her 3 girls. I'm very unhappy with my work. I'm on a wide array of antidepressants and sleep aids, as well as some medication for bipolar disorder. I've been in therapy for years. I've been under the care of a psychiatrist for about 5 years. And I'm living in Kingwood, Texas, in Houston. And my wife left me in 1999. She took my 3 kids and moved in with her lesbian partner in Austin, Texas. And that relationship fell apart, and I ended up taking over financially to provide for them and to try to raise my kids remotely. And I was living with this lady in Kingwood and helping her raise her 3 kids, trying to blend a family together. I had some big aspirations, and I professionally, and then the financial crisis hit, the mortgage crisis, bank failures. It changed a lot of things in the oil and gas transaction business, which I was in, and doing quite well financially. But I didn't care for the culture. I didn't care for most of the people that I was working for, the people that owned the majority of the company. I didn't see eye to eye with, and I've always wanted to have my own business, and actually my real want was to be an artist. And so I swung for the fences. I thought if I made a ton of money in the oil business, I could let it all go and take time for myself and be an artist. Well, it turned out the oil business and that relationship that I had all ended up really rejecting me and any aspirations that I had, and it created a great deal of stress that brought on lawsuits and misunderstandings, and I ended up with nothing, absolutely nothing. And in 2014, actually it was by the middle of 2015 before I realized that I had lost absolutely everything and had nothing to count on in Houston except one friend. And his health was failing. And I had set up a home in Austin for my mother to transition from Springfield, Missouri into Austin, where some of my kids were beginning to appear to build their lives, and I and my fiance that I was living with had aspirations of settling in the Central Texas area at some point in the future. Well, when I lost everything, of course, I lost my access to health care, and I pretty much, I had the chance, I had a stockpile of some of the meds, and I weaned myself off, and I interviewed I was trying to confirm my health diagnosis. I never really felt like I was really bipolar. I knew I had some special views on life and was really struggling emotionally and with my thoughts. I've written since I was a kid and was very, highly talented athlete. I was a good football player and basketball player, and before I threw my arm away pitching, I was a good baseball player. And I had always been a leader in every organization or job or team that I'd been on, and had been trusted, raised in an extremely conservative church upbringing, where I had, a lot of experience memorizing and presenting, and I had some strong values that I was raised with. And in contrast to that, I had a lot of suppressed rage and anger. So I had, I'd struggled with drinking and with relationships, with sex, and no, real problems with the law ever. And I managed to contain myself. I think having kids at a really young age, and then having 3 of them, and my wife not being able to provide financially anything, that probably saved my life and kept me focused on work throughout much of my up until I was in my 40s and around 50, whenever everything blew up. So I had volunteered at a nonprofit here in town in Austin, and one of the projects that I invented for myself was to interview a bunch of their highly people that really weren't too independent, and to understand their diagnosis, their life stories. And I ended up recording it, and with the idea that I would make a documentary and try to help raise some more money for this nonprofit as a result of it. And I couldn't use much of the video. They ended up really opening up to me, and I had cameras running and captured all this audio, and there was confessions of everything from rapes to murders to incest, and a lot of failures of our institutions to look after some of the situations these people were encountering in their lives. And I even went as far as to try to verify some of the facts or some of their claims with staff members as well as family members and so forth, and found, for the most part, a lot of this information was true. So I interviewed these 10 people, all of whom had, mental health diagnoses just like I did. But I determined I didn't have the same thing they had. And as I did more soul searching, which I've done much of my life, I've determined that there was some traumatic incidents I went through in childhood that were most likely the core issues that I was dealing with. That I had PTSD, and so I sought out a counselor to administer EMDR to me, and through some nonprofits, some charities, and some development programs that were going on here in Austin, I was able to get that. And so I went through that about 7 years ago, or completed that about 7 years ago, and have been mostly acting, making some independent films, some commercials, and doing some advertising work that's been used on social media. And then I've been doing a lot of work with people I've run into that have had issues like I had or worse, and have spent a lot of time helping other people as a counselor, a father figure. And I've not charged for that. And then I've had a relationship with a lady here, and I helped her raise a couple of kids. And my mother's given me a little bit of support along the way. She ended up remarrying and not coming to Austin. And I've also got a brother in town who has been some help and some comfort and security. But for the most part, I've scraped to get by, and have had this intention of finally becoming a full-blown artist and actor. And I can write. I've written tons of articles. I've tried to put things up on my website and get something of a following, and actually monetize, or make myself into a commercial artist of some sort. And I've not been very successful at doing that. Most people that I encounter in Austin believe that I have extreme wealth, and that I'm secure with myself, and that I think they kind of look at me and make some assumptions. And I've always carried myself as if I don't have any problems, and as if I have everything that I want. And that's far from the truth, but I suppress it. So I'd like to let that go. But I'd also like to put myself out there to be available, as an actor in film or TV, some episodic streaming work, or even as a writer. I'd be happy to do some writing. And I do tend to have a unique style of writing that I adhere to as an artist. And I think that I have a unique persona, range of characters that I can inhabit. And I know that I have a very wide range of experience that I think scares and intimidates some people, because I could have been a professional athlete. I did start 2 oil companies and have over $1 billion committed to companies that I had started, and started them, really successfully. The price of oil fell in coincidence with my breakup with my fiance, and the collapse of relationships with 2 partners in Houston. And prior to that, I'd been blindsided because from a couple of partners and a private equity firm to start a company. And when I say blindsided, whenever you deal with PTSD, everything that you do is somewhat suspect. And I found myself really looking for, my true calling. as opposed to, surviving in the moment. That seemed to be, I wanted to take care of my responsibilities for other people, but ultimately I felt like I was betraying myself much of this time as I was looking around for answers and trying to heal. So, and I even ended up getting into, multiple lawsuits over misunderstandings with people that actually thought that I had money. I had no money at all. So it was very, very difficult to fight these lawsuits that came at me because I'd basically given it all away to the women and children in my life. And, one time I did buy a boat. That was mostly to try to have a family activity that we could all enjoy, my kids and my fiance's kids on the lake. And we did. That was good. But anyway, I've really been trying to turn the corner. COVID hit, and some of the projects that I had started were looking to be promising toward making a film and entertainment career, to use my artistry and my passion and all of my pent-up emotions and but the wild thing is, after you spend a life with PTSD, you have a hard time believing in a lot of the things that everyone else is believing and is working for them. So you become a skeptic, and at the same time, as you look closer, you can find holes in some of the institutions and some of the systems that are set up. Well, I did that, and I think that may, make me a little bit difficult to work with from time to time. But so it's a matter of finding maybe the right people to go forward with. So I have a lot of things to say about life, and some of the things that I have shared with some of the people that have come to me for some guidance and assistance and healing have encouraged me to write a book about my life and to become a counselor or a psychiatrist or psychologist and or a coach and get accredited to do that. I really have no intention of offering that out for working by the hour to help people in that way. I'd rather reach people through media and by potentially making films and writing and seeing some work, reaching a lot of people. In the meantime, I'll continue to work with individuals that I encounter in life, and but I really would like to get some good ideas about what I could share by video to help improve the lives of the people that find my rhythm and my experience fascinating. I've lived through a lot. I survived a drowning, near-death experience there, and I also have been struck by lightning. And I've been, run over pretty good by attorneys and investment bankers and other people in the oil business, as well as people that I trusted in my personal life. And I feel like I have something to offer there to people, men as well as women. And, I continue to find people of all ages, from people who are much older than me to people that are in their 20s, reaching out for some guidance And I'd like to do the best I can, not to leave anything on the table, and to help people find the courage and and to find their uniqueness, and find a place to use that in their lives to not only improve the lives of themselves and others that are around them, but to create a platform where people's uniqueness and their passions could be expressed without judgment or without ridicule or them being berated for it. And so anyway, that's where I'm coming from. I like to think of it as a place of love. Sometimes I do shadow work with people and they can see that, I do have some anger and some issues that can surface. And I've learned over time, I don't have any fear of that. And once people get to know me, they understand that my intentions are aligned with their best. And so anyway, I hope this reaches ears that are in need of some of this type of service or help, or if there's some common ground that we have in film or TV production, that we could work together. All the best.